We could be really interested for all the writers who are following us. So the project is called WeWrite. And are you going to, which one is going to talk first? Okay.
Thanks, Milena. So WeWrite project is a writing software that tries to adapt to what the writing process, the human writing process, actually is. Instead of the opposite, which is what normally happens, that we have to adapt our process, our creative process, to the text editor we are working on. I don't know about you, Milena, but when I write, it's a mess. It's a complete mess. I write something, then I delete it, then I write something again, then I switch some parts of it, I copy paste from something else, then I erase everything and I start over. It's a complex process. Sometimes it happens that I have a couple of versions, alternatives of a piece of text, and I'm not decided yet which one is the best. I want to keep them both, so I have to put one after the other and go on with the text. But the text does not make any sense in that way. Actually, it's hard to handle different alternative versions with the current text editor because they force us into a linear space. Each text editor nowadays is a simple sequence of letters. But what happens when we write, it's something much more complex than this. So the idea is to build a tool that is capable to host and support this complexity. A tool where we can visualize in a very intuitive way for the user the alternative path that can be taken while writing and creating the story we want to write about. This is just an example, just to show how it works. Here, each dot is a piece of text. We call them nodes. It can be a sentence, it can be a paragraph, it can be a page, it can be a whole chapter. Okay? And then there are arrows connecting those blocks of text. And the idea is that a complete text is just a path on this network, okay? As you can see immediately, you have several ways from which you can go from start to the end, no? So the point is that with this system, you can easily handle alternative paths. For example, somebody wrote this long story here in these days, and someone else decided to elaborate an alternative variant. So what happens normally when we work cooperatively on a document? That you have your version, I come to change your version, and your old version disappear. So, of course, these kind of things, it's something we don't want. I would like to keep my versions, for example, to further elaborate them, perhaps, or to share them with someone else. But if I share something, we have worked both with someone else, who knows who write which part I have written, which part you have written. So in this way, it's also much more clear who did what. And this is very important if you have to establish accountability for a certain part of the text. So this software allows to do this kind of operation very easily. Also allows you to manipulate the text at a different level, at a more structural level, because sometimes what we need to do is not just to find the right path, but also to find the right recombination of the elements. We have already written several paragraphs, and we want to understand what goes first and what goes after. We need to see it. We need to test different orders. And this editor allows to do it very easily through a specific tool we developed for this, where you can switch the order of the paragraphs, the order of the nodes, depending on what your nodes are. So there are a lot of different functionalities. Of course, the idea is to host the complexity of the writing process, but without forcing the user to take care of that complexity. So the system will take care of much of that complexity by himself. And that's very important, because of course, if you are, for example, correcting the typos, you are not creating a new version, you are just perfecting a version that you want to keep. But if you are writing an alternative version, the system needs to understand that and to create a different important sequence. And there are specific tools created to allow this possibility in a very simple and intuitive way. Also, a side result of this project is that it allows us to study the actual writing process, because we have been using it. It's a prototype, but we have been using it in scientific writing seminars that we have been organizing in the last year. So we are trying to study the writing process because it's complex and we do not know much about it, actually. And these are just some representations of the metrics we have been working on. For example, one of the things we have measured is in which part of our writing process we explore more. You know, when you write all those parts of the text that don't make it to the end, they will disappear, but maybe they are useful to get to a more to a better version. Okay, so those phases of exploration have been measured for us, because with this kind of graph we can see where the exploration is. The higher the line, the most explorative was the user behavior in that part of the creative process. Of course, it's an evolving metric, because it depends on what your final version is. But our tool retrospectively analyzes all the versions and tells you when you were more far from the actual final version. Another metric we developed is used to study on which part of the text we work the most, because maybe we work the most the beginning of our text, or maybe we work a lot on the last part. There are metrics we developed for this, and in particular with this kind of graph here, we can see each version of the text like a ring in the trunk of a tree. And the parts that stays the same have just one ring, while the other parts have other rings built one upon the other. We can see, for example, here that the start stayed the same since the beginning, while the end had several different versions. So it is important to measure these kind of things, because one of the aim of this project is also to understand how to improve the creative process, how to support the creative process. So, for example, in a phase where we see that the user is more explorative, we need to help him to automatically create new alternative version. While in the phase where he's perfecting a part, he doesn't need many alternative versions, he's just working on one version, because we are also thinking to automatically create new versions. And that could be a powerful support tool for the user.
Thank you for the explanation, very detailed explanation of the project. No, it was really interesting. But is the system suitable for a single writer, both for a single writer and for a collaborative writing project? So.
Well, the system is conceived to support the complex process of writing, even of a single person. But of course, it gives it's at its best when it does a collaborative work, because that's exactly when alternative versions are more important. And also because there is the issue of the accountability I was mentioning before. We need to understand who did what. Sometimes you get a review text and it's being reviewed by other persons and you do not know who did what. And that might be very important. In particular, if you have, for example, let's say you are working on the lyrics of a song and you have to share the royalties for that song, you need to know who did what. And this, of course, is an actual problem for Sony Music.
Okay, yeah, and I would like to ask Ruggiero. I don't know. Are you already imagining other contexts of application for this project?
So yes, thank you for the question. We are imagining many applications for this project. The principal one is the user-centric one, where we are writing narrative text or a scientific text. But we imagine the production of large, for example, TV series where the complexity of the structure can be understood, and the cooperative nature of the project can be enhanced by our text editor. But beyond natural languages, so narrative texts or documents that we are producing, we imagine also different kind of utilizations for this kind of software. We can, for example, think of writing code with this kind of software, and each of the different functions of the code will have a relationship to the other functions, and by reorganizing it, we can obtain different results, different algorithms as we go through the tree and the structure that we have created by using this kind of system. Beyond this, anything where the capacity to recombinate the different elements of our creative process can be a way to enhance the creative process, can greatly benefit from this kind of new way of creating and interacting with our own material. So we can imagine, for example, songwriting, but even the composition of the sound can benefit from this kind of approach.
Thank you. So, what it seems important to me actually is that this project places like a support to the creativity, because I was thinking about coming back to writers. I was thinking about could a writer feel like overcome by a kind of project like this, by a kind of let's say help, no? And so, but actually, what is very simple to understand is that actually we are talking about a support who enhance our creativity. So, if you want to just underline this.
Yeah, the idea is that so far we have been adapting our creativity to the tools we have, instead of doing the reverse. One of the examples I like to think about is the mouse. You know, the first mouse was a box. Can you imagine how uncomfortable was that? And after many years of work, we managed to transform that technology, adapting to our physiology. What we want to do is to create tools that are adapted to the physiology of our minds, to the specific characteristics of our creative process. That's our main aim here at CSL.
So thank you guys for this amazing contribution to our interviews. And so this was the last interviews for today. And tomorrow we will have some other interesting interviews at the sustainability team. We didn't meet them yet, so we are all eager to know about their exciting work. So I hope we will meet tomorrow, and thank you.